Good evening, and welcome to Sky Tonight. The waning gibbous moon is currently 89% illuminated. Look for it rising late in the evening and riding high after midnight in the constellation Aquarius. Please enable captions in your preferred language to access local observing city information and times. Join us for a guided tour of the entire night sky. We begin by looking halfway up the southern sky for Venus, then shift our gaze almost straight overhead to spot the Hercules cluster, Vega, and the Ring Nebula together. As the night deepens, we move to the high southern sky to find the Coat Hanger, Albireo, and the Dumbbell Nebula, while keeping an eye on the eastern horizon for Mars and the overhead Deneb. Approaching dawn, we watch for the southern Delta Aquariids and Mercury near the eastern horizon, then look high in the south for Dipta and Saturn halfway up, finishing with the Perseids. To close the tour, we will watch for the moon crossings by satellites. Venus is a dazzling silver-white point located halfway up the southern sky in the constellation Virgo. It is the brightest object in the night sky after the moon and is easily visible to the naked eye. A telescope is not required to see it, though it can reveal extra detail. In Los Angeles, the planet culminates at 8:20 in the evening, while New York and London reach their highest points at 8:45 in the evening and 9:30 in the evening, respectively. In 1610, Galileo saw that Venus goes through a full cycle of phases like the moon, evidence that it orbits the sun, and a serious blow to the old idea that everything circled the Earth. Almost straight overhead in Hercules, you will find the Hercules cluster. Aim your binoculars at the dim fuzzball located on the west side of the constellation's keystone asterism. Around 8:55 in the evening, the cluster is best placed in both Los Angeles and New York, while it peaks for observers in London at 9:30 in the evening. Through high-resolution space telescope observations, astronomers have discovered that some stars in M13 have unusual chemical compositions, providing clues about the early chemical evolution of the galaxy. Vega is a dazzling blue-white star located almost straight overhead in the constellation Lyra, marking one corner of the summer triangle. It is visible to the naked eye and reaches a maximum altitude of 84 degrees, appearing very bright in the summer sky. No telescope is required to see this object, as it is clearly visible without optical aid. This star reaches its highest altitude around 10:50 in the evening for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London, remaining above the horizon all night in London. Vega is a star that rotates exceptionally fast around its own axis. Its equator spins at a linear velocity exceeding 200 kilometers per second, causing the star to flatten and making its pole significantly hotter and brighter than its equator. Tonight's featured deep sky object is the Ring Nebula, a famous ring of Lyra that is a showpiece for any small telescope. Aim your telescope midway between the two southern stars of the little parallelogram of Lyra, just below brilliant Vega. The nebula culminates around 11:10 in the evening for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. The Ring Nebula's colors map its chemistry. Hot helium and ionized oxygen glow in its blue-green inner region, while hydrogen and nitrogen paint the outer ring in shades of red and orange. The Coat Hanger is a striking cluster of 10 unrelated stars that line up into a distinctive shape from our viewpoint. Sweep your binoculars a third of the way from Altair to Albireo to find this upside-down formation in Vulpecula. Around 11:40 in the evening, the cluster reaches its greatest altitude for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. What it really is an asterism, a shape rather than an object, which is the same category the constellations themselves belong to. Albireo sits at the foot of the Northern Cross in Cygnus, appearing as a golden yellow star to the naked eye. A small telescope reveals this is actually a double star, splitting the gold with a companion blue star. This star culminates around 11:45 in the evening for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. In the science fiction story Hack AI Buster, the hero borrows the name Albireo and is drawn with one blue eye and one golden eye, a deliberate nod to the star's famous pair of colors. The Dumbbell Nebula is a bright apple-core planetary nebula located in Vulpecula. Sweep your telescope or binoculars just north of the Little Arrow of Sagitta in the Milky Way below Cygnus. The nebula reaches its highest point around 12:15 after midnight for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. At the heart of the Dumbbell Nebula lies an extraordinarily hot white dwarf, blazing at about 85,000 degrees and believed to be one of the largest white dwarfs known. In catalogs, it is listed as M27. The Alpha Capricornids meteor shower is active tonight, though it is 2 days past its peak and fading. Meteors streak away from this point in Capricornus, so look halfway up the southern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant for the longest trails. Around 12:40 after midnight, the radiant is best placed for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. Deneb marks the luminous top of the Northern Cross in Cygnus. This blue-white star is also one of the 3 points forming the Summer Triangle, located almost straight overhead. This star reaches its highest altitude around 12:55 after midnight for viewers in Los Angeles, New York, and London, remaining above the horizon all night in London. Due to its position close to the galactic plane, Deneb is often used by astronomers as a reference point. It serves to study the structure and chemical composition of more distant parts of our galaxy's spiral arm. Mars is rising from the eastern horizon as an orange-red point in Taurus. Look low near the eastern horizon to spot this steady, unblinking planet. It rises in Los Angeles at 2:31 in the morning, then climbs for New York at 2:16 in the morning, and finally appears for London at 1:37 in the morning. Recent observations by rovers and orbiters have detected methane in Mars's atmosphere, which comes and goes seasonally, suggesting either geological processes or possible evidence of microbial life. We now turn to the crossings of Phobos and Deimos across the disk of Mars. Phobos makes its first crossing across the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. This event occurs in Los Angeles between 10:12 in the morning and 11:06 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon, and in New York between 1:12 in the afternoon and 2:06 in the afternoon while Mars is above the horizon, whereas in London Mars is below the horizon. Deimos makes its first crossing across the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 84 minutes. This event occurs in Los Angeles between 11:47 in the morning and 1:11 in the afternoon while Mars is above the horizon, and in New York between 2:47 in the afternoon and 4:11 in the afternoon while Mars is above the horizon, whereas in London Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing across the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. This event occurs in London between 1:51 in the morning and 2:45 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon, whereas in Los Angeles and New York Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing across the apparent disk of Mars, lasting 54 minutes. This event occurs in New York between 4:31 in the morning and 5:25 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon, and in London between 9:31 in the morning and 10:25 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon, whereas in Los Angeles Mars is below the horizon. The Southern Delta Aquariids meteor shower is active tonight, also 2 days past its peak and fading. Meteors streak away from this point in Aquarius, so look halfway up the southern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant for the longest trails. Around 2:55 in the morning, the radiant reaches its highest point for observers in Los Angeles, New York, and London. Mercury is rising from the eastern horizon as a steady point in Gemini. Look low near the eastern horizon to spot this planet as it comes up. Watch in Los Angeles first at 4:36 in the morning. By 4:24 in the morning, it is New York's turn, and London follows at 3:53 in the morning. Mercury was named after the swift-footed Roman messenger of the gods because it is the fastest planet, sweeping around the sun more quickly than any other. Difda is one of the 50 brightest stars in the night sky, located in Cetus. Follow the eastern side of the Great Square of Pegasus, extended south, to find this bright orange star. This star culminates around 4:55 in the morning in both Los Angeles and New York, while it reaches its greatest altitude for London at 4:40 in the morning. The name Difta comes from the Arabic phrase al-Difta al-Thani, literally meaning the second frog, referring to an ancient Arabic asterism depicting a pair of frogs in the sky, in which the first frog was identified with the star Fomalhaut, used by ancient sailors for navigation. Saturn appears as a steady, unblinking golden point in Pisces, looking partway up the southern sky. It is fainter than Jupiter, but its calm yellow glow makes it easy to identify. The planet is best placed around 5:10 in the morning for viewers in Los Angeles and New York, then moves to its highest point for London at 4:40 in the morning. Saturn's magnetic field is remarkably aligned with its rotational axis, unlike Earth's tilted magnetic field, making Saturn one of the few planets with such perfect magnetic alignment. The Perseids meteor shower is active tonight, building toward its peak in 11 days. Meteors streak away from this point in Perseus, so look high in the northern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant for the longest trails. The earliest view of the radiant belongs to Los Angeles at 5:30 in the morning, with London waiting until 4:40 in the morning, and New York in between at 5:15 in the morning, all remaining above the horizon all night. Satellites cross in front of the moon's disk 13 times tonight, and we show the 6 whose ground path runs closest to towns and cities. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the first crossing of the night, its ground path running from near Usulutton at 9:02 in the evening to north of Orximina at 12:09 after midnight. For an observer on that narrow path, the crossing of the disk takes only about a second. The second crossing of the night is the Hubble Space Telescope coming round again, its ground path running from north of Melit at 9:11 in the evening to over the open Indian Ocean at 12:19 after midnight. The third crossing of the night is the Hubble Space Telescope coming round again, its ground path running from over the open Atlantic at 9:28 in the evening to over the open Atlantic at 10:35 in the evening. The fourth crossing of the night is the Hubble Space Telescope coming round again, its ground path running from southwest of Roa at 9:33 in the evening to east of Sintang at 11:12 in the evening. The fifth crossing of the night is the Hubble Space Telescope coming round again, its ground path running from northwest of Tahua at 9:45 in the evening to west of Kismayo at 11:53 in the evening. The sixth crossing of the night is the Hubble Space Telescope coming round again, its ground path running from west of Dakar at 10:20 in the evening to west of Mbandaka at 11:27 in the evening. A total solar eclipse is coming soon. Follow Sky Tonight for details. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have clear skies tonight. See you next time for the next nightly sky guide.